It is our pleasure having you again for another edition of View Piont on DBS Television. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and wish you all a happy week start and for joining us in the very first edition of the week, that is the 16th of November 2020. And to talk about in today's edition, we'll be talking issues related to regional elections coming up on the December the 6th. And we are having with us a politician in the studio and a civil society activist, Dr. Nick Ngwanya. Doctor, good evening and thank you very much.
It's a pleasure to be with you.
With us. It is a pleasure having you as well.
It's the first time I'm coming to this TV station. I'm glad I'm here. It's a great place.
Hope you enjoy your stay.
Yes, of course. It's already very beautifully air conditioned.
Mange Benashus, a happy week start and welcome.
Good evening, Vanessa. Good evening to our viewers. It's a pleasure always being there to commune with our viewers. Actually, it's the beginning of the week.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, feel comfortable at home. Let us ride on for about 26 minutes. It is the first part of the show, that is the questions. Will the introduction of regional councils improve democracy in Cameroon? Dr. Nick, your point of view, yes or no?
Yes or no? This is very tricky. Let's make it a yes/no.
Yes/no.
Correct.
Yes and a no. Mange Benashus, your point of view?
No, I think it won't. No.
Completely?
Yes.
Can the putting in place of these councils solve the security crisis, especially in the northwest and the southwest regions? Doctor?
Yes/no.
Still?
Yeah.
Benashus?
I am still for no, it won't.
It won't. A no. Let us take a debate. In trying to find out if the introduction of regional councils improve democracy in Cameroon, Dr. Nick, earlier you said you are on the fence. Yes, it's going to improve, and no, it's not going to improve it. So, what are your backup points?
You know, what you're doing is you are showing me a banana in the process of getting ripe, and you're asking me at some point in time, is the banana ripe or not ripe? That's the kind of question you're asking me. And you know, there was also a story of a wise man where a young child came to him and had a bird in hand, and the bird was alive, and he put the bird in one of the hands and then kind of like was hiding and say, the bird in my hand, is it alive or dead? And it doesn't matter what the wise man said, the child was going to do something to win. That's the situation in which you're putting me, and that's the situation in which the country is. And if you've been following me on social media and some other TV stations, I've been saying we got a problem. We got a serious problem in Cameroon or in Africa. And the problem is this. We do not understand problems. That's the first thing. And the second thing is we do not know how to solve problems. And because we don't understand problems, we don't know how to solve problems, we don't know how to create wealth.
All right.
So, and you know, for a country like this to move forward, you need a couple of things. You need politics on the one hand, and politics is to define policy and follow up.
The implementation of those policies.
And the intentions should always be good. And you need economics to be able to create the wealth, create opportunities for people, put money in people's pockets so that they can solve their problems, so that they can grow up Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And then all these things are supported by a sound education that we don't seem to see. But because our education has not been sound for 60 years and we have taken off and then gone for politics, everybody now is a politician and nobody knows economics or how to create wealth or anything. That's why everybody on TV, you check all the TV stations and radios, we talk politics, but at the end of the day, it's empty politics. It's not useful. And therefore, we have a problem that is eating Cameroon now. You would call it the West Cameroon, East Cameroon problem. Some people call it the Anglophone problem. When you say the Anglophone problem, very smart people who are Francophones, who speak English, they will say it's not an Anglophone problem because I'm also an Anglophone. It's not about the capacity to use the English language. No, it has a sociological context in which it is defined. So when you're talking of an Anglophones or an Anglophone problem, you are referring to those people from West Cameroon, whether they be grandmothers who speak English or not. When you're speaking of Francophones in our context, you are referring to people of this part of the country, whether they speak French or not. So it should be very clear. And therefore, the problem we have in Cameroon that has been rocking Cameroon a lot is a problem. This is the problem that we really need to solve. Then it is, instead of really facing the problems and really solving them, we are going around in circles, putting this, you know, trying to cook up something that doesn't really work. If you want to solve a problem, go for it and solve it, and it will be clear. And people, I can understand, people are afraid to do what is right, because for the past 60 years we've been living in fear. But the hidden agenda was that the Anglophone should be assimilated, marginalized and assimilated. But the beauty of everything is that when our president, His Excellency President Paul Biya, was in France a couple of months back, might be 8, I don't know, with Mr. Mo Ibrahim, he said that was the agenda. I'm not the one who said that. I thought I was dreaming that was the agenda. You know, I went to the Ngambe people and to tell me what was going on. They told me that it was an issue of marginalization and assimilation. But because it was done in the Ngambe house, I couldn't talk about it openly. But the president himself, so I used to guess that that's what it is, because you know, Anglophones were treated as second class. So I thought that was I thought it was a policy. But he actually came out there to say, look, we've been trying to squeeze these Anglophones and change them from Anglophones to Francophones so that we'll have some uniformity. But nature doesn't like uniformity. You understand what I'm saying? And people you know, live with people and cope with their differences, because there is beauty and richness in those differences. Now, so he said, I'm sure you remember, you listened to him, and he said that this is what we have been trying to do, but it's not worked. It's like there's a lot of you call it popcorn in a bowl, and you are trying to take more than you really need, and everything else goes out. That's what has been happening to you. You grab, it goes. You grab, it goes. So he said, no, look, we need to change it, and then let Anglophones be. By letting Anglophones be, he was saying, let us give them more breathing space. All right. So now, with implementing this regional councillors. Yes, I'm getting to something very important, because this is a very important subject that we are discussing. And when I made this framework and I lay it out, then you will see why there is a yes and there is a no. All right. I get your point. Now, so when the president was saying, look, this was the hidden agenda that we were trying, this is the project that we had for Anglophones, and that project didn't seem to work, and now we've got to change strategy and let it be as it ought to be. But he is making these statements months after the major national dialogue. Are you getting what I'm saying? So ask yourself the question, why was there a major national dialogue? The major national dialogue was meant to solve the West Cameroon, East Cameroon problem. But, you know, they threw in a couple of other things to create plantain malaxé. All right? And then they caused confusion. So we never really addressed those. We talked about things and then... So many things. And then end up with the special status, which means nothing. And then a house of chiefs, which means nothing. And then we said, no, it's about decentralization. It's decentralization. It's decentralization. Fine, fair and good. But why not put everything on the table and discuss? That's the issue. Okay? But now we are not pushing forward the little elements that were inserted into the decentralization. But the question you should be asking is, that thing from the major national dialogue and the decentralization, is that the solution? So when you ask that question, then I would, and the special status, I would say, no, that's not the solution. The solution for that problem, which is actually the form of state, I'm sure you've heard me talk about it several times. If you want to solve the problems of Cameroon, it's a confederation. Okay? That's the Confederal State of West Cameroon, the Confederal State of East Cameroon. Then you cause decentralization, this decentralization now, to happen within the Confederal States. So the decentralization we have now is a good thing, in the sense that it would allow the people we call Francophones on this side, because they are not used to managing themselves. They are managed by the SDO and the DO. You know, the SDO and the DO tell them when to make love to their wives. Are you getting what I'm saying? So, but Anglophones, they are used to being proactive in the sense that if there's a problem, you come together as a community, a village, and see how you solve the problem. But here, if we are not developing, if there's dirt on the street and nobody is carrying it, it's because they've been taught that you have to wait and fold your arms and wait for instructions from above. Then when you go and ask the DO, he says, I have not got instructions from Yaoundé. When you go and ask the minister, he says, the president has not spoken. That's why you see when the minister is speaking, like the president said. So it's a clash of cultures, and it will not be useful until we get it right.
All right. Dr. Nick, thank you very much for that explanation. Mange Venashus, categorically you stand for the fact that regional councils will not improve democracy in Cameroon.
Yes, Vanessa, I am of that opinion that we are beating around the bush and standing on this. We are running as fast as we are, but we are standing on the same position. Regional councils improving democracy in Cameroon, I don't think so. Because when you look at the upcoming regional elections coming up in December the 6th, I think so, look at the political majority. Because when we talk of democracy, we look at political, parties involved, political activities that involve in it. You see that the political majority of the ruling party is so overwhelming. I don't know whether it is in actuality or in in concept. It's so overwhelming that they tell us that that is the only party that is found in all the subdivisions in Cameroon. That is the ruling party. Now, when we were talking about the elections of these regional councils, we are going to have only the councillors voting. Which means if that is the only party that is found in all the regions in Cameroon, it follows that in all the regions in Cameroon, they stand a position perhaps more than 50% to win in almost all the regions, in all the councils. Two, when they will win, it still become a CPDM thing. And democracy will not democracy won't exist, because the very CPDM that was yesterday would still be the very CPDM that will be tomorrow post the institution of this regional councils. So practically nothing would have changed. Nothing would have changed, because it is just like changing the name. I remain me. Change my name, I am still me. Call me by any other thing, I am still me. Because my attitude, my being, my me will still be me. Now, if you take the candidates involved in this regional elections, most of them are retired civil servants, retired governors, retired ministers. These are the people who are coming back. If I can cite, for example, I read names, last week, paper spoke about it. I think Defi Actuel spoke about it. We have names like Zachary Pereve is a former minister. We have names like Fonangwafo III of Mankon. He's second national president of the CPDM party, although in isolation. We have names like Time Evona in Yaoundé, former government delegate, and another chief in the south. Most of them are government workers. These are the very people who did not succeed in implementing democracy in Cameroon. If we're introducing, we have been talking about this decentralization issue for close to 24, 26 years, because we were from 1996. So if these very administrators could not implement democracy, it is not calling a regional councils that they will come to implement it. So I think that we would still be standing on the same position, because these are still the same people who were there yesterday. They are the same people who are still there today. So I don't think that when after the elections on December 6th, we are going to have a democratized, society in Cameroon because of these regional councils. The CPDM party will still command. They will still command the ruling of the issues. Now let's talk about after the municipal council, after the municipal election, government delegates will change to city mayors. Yes. And you still see the CPDM party decided on who becomes a mayor in whichever city council. We have the case Douala, we have the case Kumba, we have the case Limbe. So I can still cite as many cases as they are. So they still decide who becomes a mayor.
Since you're doubting the democracy coming alongside with these regional councillors, I would like to know what would be their particularities. Would they be the one to manage the funds of the region?
Vanessa, we cannot talk of democracy, we cannot talk of decentralization.
Because if we're talking of decentralization and democracy, they should be able to handle everything that comes in managing the region.
In principle, that is what is supposed to exist. In principle, we must be talking of a decentralized system of government where things are decentralized. But in our own context of decentralization, we're talking of certain competencies. And with these certain competencies decentralized, without financial decentralization, we are just simply creating, toothless bulldogs. They will be barking, but they cannot bite. Because once the finances are not there, you cannot bite. That is why the mayor will not have the possibility to decide on this project. They would have it in principle, but then to execute this project, it may be a problem. Vanessa, we have mayors from the opposition party, and if you see them, for them to have access into finance to carry out projects is always a problem. That is a political game. So since we are still going to have the very mayors who would be there, because the city councils who are there, the very people, now regional councillors will come, they will likely change nothing in principle. So to me, I don't see it, ushering any form of democracy in Cameroon, Vanessa.
Thank you also, Mange Venatius. That leads us to our second question. Can the putting in place of these councils solve the security crisis, especially in the Northwest and the Southwest region? Dr. Nika, you are still on the fence. It will solve it, and it's not going to solve it. So how is it going to do that?
Before I even answer your question, can I just chip in with something?
Yeah, okay.
Yes, because you see, we are taking when we take things in boxes, we don't see how they work. Let me make this statement. When I started, I said you need politics and you need economics. And then these politics and economics bring development if you use it right. And all of this is the motto is education, the right education. We will not have for 60 years. Now, let me make a particular statement. What we call independence. There are two types of independence that, should I say independences? Yeah, I think that's the way it's pronounced. There are two types of independences, but Africa is aware only of one. There's another kind of independence that has been hidden from Africans because they were given the wrong education and they don't get it. And to illustrate it, Vanessa, you were born. I don't know, you were born 24 years ago, I don't know.
Yeah, 24 to 25 years ago.
That day, you were given a birth certificate. That is, Cameroon was born in 1960 for French speaking and 1961 for English speaking. That's when we were given a birth certificate as a nation. Are you getting what I'm saying?
I get your point.
Now, when you were born, you had to go to school and grow to become who you are today. That means a nation also has got to do what? Grow. And that is where the problem is. We are not aware of it. Cameroon and many other African nations have failed to grow. They are big babies. That's the problem. They are big babies and they are still on milk. When there's a problem here, they are running to France or to America to solve the problem. It's because they're on milk. Are you getting what I'm saying? Yeah, they're always running. What did France say? It's an indication that they're on milk. They have not matured. And the only countries in Africa that seem to be getting a clue as to what should be done is Rwanda, Ghana, Tanzania. All the other ones are on feeding bottle. As far as their mentality goes. So when you are growing, what does it mean? When you are growing, it means that you are the indicator to show that you are growing is not the number of political parties that you have. It's not even the democratic elections that you have. It is those things, the democracy you are looking for and the politics is supposed to have indicators in the economic sector. It's supposed to have indicators in the youth having jobs. It's supposed to have indicators in your foreign exchange, that your foreign reserve, that you are keeping it. If your foreign reserve is always dry, if you are always importing more than you are exporting, it means you are still very primitive. Are you getting what I'm saying? So and if you are still importing rice and fish, it means you are very primitive. Every pound of rice that you import is a pound of foolishness on your part. Are you getting what I'm saying? So I'm trying to paint this picture. So do you realize that we are doing something, that we are trying to solve this problem over here? It doesn't matter how much you do things in the realm of politics. If that realm of politics does not change the economics, it's an exercise in futility. And to make you understand, let's go to China. China is not a democratic nation, is it? but it's the best economy, right?
Yes.
Okay, so it tells you when the white man and many other people are pushing for democracy for African countries, they were hoping that when you have your democracy, good people with good ideas would take power at some time and move the country forward. But even when good people, watch my fingers, when the supposed good people take over, they don't know what to do. That is the problem. And they don't know what to do because their education is bad. Because we are in the dark. Are you getting what I'm saying? That is the problem. And all people in Africa, the civil servants, the whoever, the elites and so on, they don't know how to make money. That is the problem. They know just that you have to be a civil servant or whatever, grab power, be there, and then see how you can take money out of the treasury. How to steal the taxes and so on. Corruption. We cannot get out of this. So do whatever you want in those councils, but if we don't change this particular thing, we're going nowhere. And watch my lips. I've said it before. We have the CPDM now in place, and everybody throws rotten bananas and rotten eggs at the CPDM, right? Just like you were complaining. Today, let us have the best elections, better than those in America, and replace the CPDM with the MRC. Nothing will change. Watch my lips. Replace it with the CPDM. I mean with the SDF. Nothing will change. Ask me why. Ask. Say why? Why? Because it's the same mindset. Are you getting what I'm saying? It is the same mindset of people, a bunch of people who don't know how to solve problems. Number one, you don't understand problems. Number two, you don't know how to solve problems. And number three, you don't know how to create wealth. But all the politics and everything is about creating wealth. When you create wealth, because you don't create wealth out of space, you need some mechanisms for creating wealth. You cannot just create wealth by abracadabra. No, you don't create wealth by cutting all the trees and selling. That is not creating wealth. It's primitivity. Are you getting what I'm saying? Until you know how to create wealth, until you know how to attract foreign capital, let it stay. And what are the indicators that Cameroon should be looking for? The day that your children will stop lining up in front of the US embassy at 4 a.m., you can use that as an indicator of your success. But you can talk all the politics you want, praise the president as much as you want, do whatever you want. If the children don't stop lining in front of the US and Western embassies to run out of your country, if the children don't stop dying in the Sahara Desert and the Mediterranean Sea, if the violence doesn't stop, because when you are seeing violence in the north, violence in the east, violence in the northwest, southwest, violence in Douala, that violence, forget about the politics, the violence comes from the fact that your economics is poor. It's not about democracy. It's the people cannot grow, cannot follow their growth pattern in the axis of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Are you getting what I'm saying?
So, Doctor, what can be done concretely to solve the Anglophone crisis?
What can be done? Do the right thing. Up until now, that has been my cry. We are doing the wrong thing and thinking that will work. And when I talk about the Anglophone problem, get out of it a little bit. What can we do to solve the Cameroonian problem? Are you getting what I'm saying? Because somebody will say, oh, no, it's about the Anglophone problem. I mean,
it's not about the Anglophone problem.
If you put in what it takes to solve the Anglophone problem properly, you solve the Cameroonian problems. Are you getting me? Because in so doing, it means you are doing good governance, it's good management, it's creating mechanisms for solving wealth. The question you should be asking me is, what can we do to provide 2 million jobs for youth in 2 years? That's the solution.
That's the solution.
Are you getting what I'm saying?
Thank you very much, Dr. Nick. Let us get the point of view of Mange Venatius, who think that putting in place these regional councillors will not solve the crisis.
Just like Doctor is explaining that we have been tackling the wrong problem, thinking that we are solving a different problem. That is where we are. I remember at the end of the major national dialogue in Yaoundé, we were praising, we were clapping for, those participants, saying that one of the outcome of that dialogue was instituting the House of Chiefs in the northwest and southwest regions, and to that it would have been a special status for these two regions. But I was surprised when the president convoked the electorate for the regional councils. Each region has a number of chiefs to be selected, which means in each region we are going to have a House of Chiefs. How are we solving the crisis? If we have a House of Chiefs in that region, what is special about these two regions? What is special? Because if I understood well, if you look at the background to our cultures that before we came together, the Anglo-Saxon culture, we had the House of Chiefs, and the French culture never had the House of Chiefs. So To my understanding, from the outcome of that major national dialogue, that was reinstating what existed in that culture before then. But then everybody will have it. How special is that? And now we are talking about the ongoing crisis in the northwest and southwest regions. Elections will take place on the 6th. It will be like the 2018 elections that happened. You know what happened in that part of the country, but elections were validated. It will be like the 2020 February twin elections, municipal and legislative elections. You know what happened. It will be like the senatorial elections that took place. You know what happened. So this time I'm still convinced that councillors will still be taken maybe from their localities by helicopter to go and vote in another locality. So I'm still of the opinion that we are tackling a wrong problem, intending to solve a different problem. So if we go doing the right, like Doctor is saying, if we pinpoint the right issue, and to him he has pinpointed it as being the economy of this, you know, of Cameroon as general. So if we pinpoint the right problem, because why are we having a war in the northwest and southwest region? Do you think that if those young men and women who are out there, if they could satisfy their want, that is, they were employed, they had how to, you know, send their children to school easily, they could solve their problems easily, are you sure they will take the guns and go out into the bushes? So I think that if we solve the economic aspect of this country, we would have solved more than 90% of this crisis, and that way we will walk out of this crisis perhaps and regain the, you know, the liberty that we had before 2016. So I would think that we should not, the special or call it the regional councils is you know, a strategy that we had since 1996 to solve, you know, talk about decentralization. And in that context, we would not solve the crisis. We will have it like we have the municipalities, like we have the senators, like we have the MPs, but the crisis will still persist. So I don't see it as solving the situation.
Thank you very much, Mangavenashu. So Dr. Nick, in 1 minute, a take-home message as regards to this.
The take-home message is that what we need in this country is not structures. We need the strategy. You know, because we have a Senate that's not useful. We had a bilingualism commission that is not useful. We have social and economic council that I don't know what it does. Then we have a NAM that needs to be restructured. The problem is not an absence of structure. We just create a lot of elites. We are going to elect some people now who just wearing coats and going around and just having elites who are not productive. That's the problem. We need to work out a right strategy that delivers the goods, and you know, we need to see how we can get economic independence. By economic independence, we need good governance, and good governance, all you need in good governance is not party A, party B, or party C, is good policies and the will to do what is right, what is true, what is just, and what is good for common good.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nick Ngwanyam, for coming.
It's a pleasure to be with you.
Hope to have you anytime when you are available.
This is my house. I'll always be here.
All right. Mangavenashu, thank you very much for your contributions.
Thank you, Vanessa.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of today's edition. Thank you very much for watching. Hope that you're going back home with a take-home message. Like Dr. Riley said, it has come to the point where we need to understand problems first, then we will know how to solve them. That's it. See you tomorrow. God willing. Do take care and